both predicted wrong. I'm pretty sure we both had the Lions for this one and the Lions Vikings. I think we both said that Dalvin Cook was going to be a little tired after last weekend, and we both were definitely wrong about that part because Dalvin Cook went off again with 200 plus scrimmage yards and 2 touchdowns. So.
Yeah, for the Lions, they didn't have their. I think a lot of I'm not making excuse for them because I think they have the talent still out there to go beat them. But not having a full game without Kenny Golladay again, it does hurt their passing game. You know, their main threat just today was Danny Amendola, who he's a good slot receiver, but him as a number 1 option isn't really an ideal situation. And I mean, I'm going to say they need to find a way to establish the run, and Jonathan Swift isn't the guy.
You know what I mean, DeAndre?
What did I say?
Jonathan. You're thinking Jonathan Taylor and DeAndre Swift.
DeAndre Swift, he's not, I don't think, maybe he can be the guy, but right now, he's not this impact player like, say, someone like Jonathan Taylor, who, in the run game in Indianapolis has really a big impact on that offense. DeAndre Swift hasn't shown that.
Okay. So we're gonna go on to the next one, which we both also predicted the same people, and we both were wrong on. It's the Ravens and Colts, and like you said earlier, we were talking about it earlier. It did look like we were gonna be right in the first half, but then the Ravens came out and showed up for the second half.
And if you followed that game close, the first half, the Colts played that. Now, I say if they don't have the turnovers they have, they could have been up 17-7.
Yeah, they did have a couple fumbles.
Coming into the half,
fumble at least.
Yeah, coming into the half, what the Ravens were doing, it was a lot of, misdirection runs, read options where they looked like they're going to run left, and then they handed it off right, or they looked like they're handed off right, and Lamar ran it left. And the defense just kept on getting caught off guard. It was just, credit to the Ravens. I think they beat a pretty highly talented Colts team. Phillip Rivers still is a very low-ceiling quarterback, but, it was definitely... I'm not too ashamed about missing that pick because the Ravens just went out there and really just picked apart a very talented Colts defense.
Yeah. The next one, which we both predicted right, but we did not expect it. I don't think any of us expected it to be this close. The Texans-Jaguars game, which was 27-25. Kind of... they started I can't remember the guy's name. He's a rookie
round
though.
Pick Jake Luton.
Yeah. So we talked about this yesterday too. We were talking about it during the Notre Dame Clemson game, and I said at the beginning of the year that I feel like that the Jaguars are going to tank, and Gardner Minshew's not going to be in that organization, or he's not going to be the starting quarterback next year. And you told me at the beginning of the year that if they started off hot, then they would keep Gardner Minshew, or they wouldn't tank, and all that. So right now, as it is looking, what are your thoughts now?
Well, obviously a big part of that pick betted on them having a hot start, and the road was clear for a hot start. They beat the Colts in week 1. They looked really good doing it. They had a game against the Titans, but we didn't know what the Titans were really yet. And they had 2 games against the Dolphins and the Bengals. So I thought, man, they could go 3-1, and if they're lucky, 4-0. And going against the Titans, they looked really good, and they lost on the last second interception. I was like, I felt pretty good about it, but of course they lost They have now lost, what is it now? Ever since that Jaguars game, they've lost 8 in a row. I mean,
Yeah,
the Colts game,
7.
they've lost 8 in a row now.
No, they
7 in a row.
lost. Yeah.
And, you know, I don't feel good about it. I think a lot of it came down to the offense they figured it out, you know. Colts just, into week 1, I hate marking games down to that, but I think it was week 1, the Colts didn't know what the Jaguars were going to do. And I think after teams started, you know, just having more and more time to study what the Jaguars were doing, it was pretty easy to pick apart. A lot of it is dump-offs, you know, running it up the gut to James Robinson. Very simple offense. It's a young team that isn't quite ready yet. And as far as Minshew's future, I still think he has the quality to be a starter in this league, but I don't think the Jaguars are going to keep him around as a starter. I think he'll chase to be a starter somewhere else, hopefully. You know, someone like Ryan Fitzpatrick has been in the league for so long, and I'm like, he's basically Ryan Fitzpatrick, just younger, I think, in my eyes. That's what I see as the potential of Gardner Minshew.
Well, I mean, hopefully I think that both of us kind of hope that he does succeed a little bit more than Ryan Fitzpatrick has in this league. Not saying that Ryan Fitzpatrick hasn't done a lot. It's just
he's been a journeyman.
Yeah. So.
And yeah, I think has Ryan Fitzpatrick even made it to a playoffs?
I don't know.
I know he came really close once with the Jets, but I know he didn't make it that one time I'm thinking of.
I can't. I can't think of the one, but on to the next one. We both predicted against him, and I feel like we both had pretty good reasons why. But Seahawks Bills is 44 to 34. So one big thing I have to ask you after this game is Russell Wilson still leading the MVP race?
It's hard to say, because what I learned from that game is you know, we had talked so much about how high-powered this offense is, and it is. It's a high-powered offense. But if it has a slow start and has trouble clicking on all cylinders, they're in trouble. And that's showed because, what was it? They fell behind 17-0. And, you know, they started making a little bit of a comeback. It started looking a little more interesting. Then they put it out, they put it out of reach when they put up 44. And it shows, I think, for some teams, a clear path of how to beat, because I don't, like, whenever they lost to the Cardinals, I don't think that showed any teams a clear path to beat them, because, you know, Kyler Murray just had himself a day.
Yeah.
And the Cardinals were just matching big play for big play. I was like, not all teams can do that. I think the Bills showed a very clear way to beat them, and that's get the offense off rhythm and, you know, just do what you do best on offense. Don't try to do anything fancy. Don't do anything insane. You don't have to, because this defense is putrid.
Yeah. I think I touched on this when we talked about our predictions yesterday on your video, but I said that I thought that the Seattle defense was going to be a little bit better than the past couple weeks, that they're going to hold the Bills, because the Bills have kind of been lackluster the past 2 games that they played when it comes down to their offense. But you know, they proved me wrong, and Seattle just didn't play good all around today, so that resulted in a loss. They fall to 6-2, but right now it does not seem like their loss is a big deal, with another big loss in the NFC West, but we'll talk about that one in a bit. On to the next one, Bears and Titans. So this was like one of our disagreement picks. I had the Bears and you took the Titans, and obviously the Titans won. So I'll let you talk about this game.
Okay, yeah. I'll be honest. Like, going through this game, it kept feeling like It felt like neither team wanted to win this game, honestly, because these are two teams that play such a conservative offense. It's so based on certain things going their way, and for neither of them really were getting it going. For a large majority of the game, it was trying to get it under their feet, and the defenses were really the stories, which didn't. I mean, you could see maybe the Bears that happening, but you thought if it got into a defensive struggle, oh, the Bears are going to come on top. But Nick Foles, I think Nick Foles, he's probably one of the greatest memes the NFL's seen as far as a successful quarterback, winning a Super Bowl MVP. He's not working.
Yeah.
And, like, I understand it's like they could still make the playoffs. I bet they might still make the playoffs just because, they had their schedule. I think there's just too many winnable games on that schedule to not think, okay, they could do this. And I think the only, and we can probably talk about this later. We don't have a plan, but I kind of want to talk about it, is like, can the Vikings start making a run here with how what the offense they found and ran? But that's the one kind of cog in the wheel for Chicago, because if the Vikings can't keep this up, they got at least probably see 5 more wins for them. So we got to get them to 10 wins. So they'll probably make the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's as long as Dalvin Cook can stay healthy as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So on the next one, which we also had another disagreement about, but it also was a really close game, and that's the Giants and the Washington football team.
Yeah. Kyle Allen got himself a nasty injury.
Yeah.
And around this time a month ago, around this time in this month, was it 2-3 years ago, Alex Smith got his horrific injury that put him out. He killed him. Obviously this wasn't, I pray no, it wasn't as serious as the Alex Smith injury. And it was fitting that Alex Smith was the one who had to come back him up, and it looks like Alex Smith might be returning to his role as a starting quarterback, as Kyle Allen, it's going to be a long road to recovery for him. We may not see Kyle Allen for the rest of the season. We're probably not going to see Kyle Allen for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and that also makes me think of a conversation we also talked about, and Dwayne Haskins. Do you think he might see the field again if Alex Smith starts to struggle?
I don't think so. I think Ron Rivera simply doesn't have faith in Dwayne Haskins. I think the relationship isn't good. I think Ron Rivera doesn't like how Dwayne Haskins handles himself. And I think Ron Rivera, even if they struggle with Alex Smith, unless Alex Smith starts having those kind of problems, I think Ron Rivera will stay with him, because Ron Rivera is a man of respect, and if you don't have his respect, no matter how difficult it is, he's not going to go for you.
All right. I also want to talk about another thing real quick with Dwayne Haskins. Do you think, with kind of how the Giants have played, and we've kind of seen this year how, even though they won this game, Daniel Jones has not played or has not really improved all that much, what it seems like, from last year. It seems like the only thing that has really changed from his game is he hasn't fumbled as much. So do you think that the Giants might make a move for Dwayne Haskins, or at least the football team tries to trade away Dwayne Haskins this offseason?
I could definitely see I would definitely see the football team trading away Dwayne Haskins, because as I said, I don't think the relationship is good. I don't think Ron Rivera has any thought about starting Dwayne Haskins. And Dwayne Haskins, I'm not a big fan of the guy. I mean, as a football player, I don't think he's that good, even though I thought he was pretty good coming out of college. But he's still young. It should be the priority to try to start somewhere. And he may not get a starting job right off the bat, but he should definitely chase another opportunity, because he still has a long career ahead of him.
Also, this is a pretty good time to bring up that they were shopping him before the trade deadline, and they said for the right price, they might be able to find him a new place. But they just couldn't get any deals done.
Yeah.
Do you think that's because of interest, or the Washington team did not think that they were getting enough, or they were going to get enough out of him? What do you think was the situation there?
Honestly, I think the situation was, I don't think there was a team that was desperate enough for a quarterback to go for him at the time. And some rumors were going around was that they were asking for a first-round pick for the guy.
All right,
and it's like,
yeah, would you have given a first-round pick?
Oh no, I'm not giving up a first-round pick for him. And I understand you took a first-round pick with him, and I'm like, great for you. That's your like if I call up Dan Schneider and I'm like, I want Dwayne Haskins on my team, and they're like, okay, we want a first round pick. He's like, no, he's not worth a first round pick. He's like, dude, we spent a first round pick on him. But I'd say is that's your problem. All right, that's not my problem. You're the one who wasted a first round pick on him, and you don't want him. So that's your problem. And I wouldn't give up a first round pick for him. It was the same reason, like whenever Arizona tried to deal Josh Rosen a year after they drafted him, they couldn't get a first round pick for him, and that was because simply he was not worth the first round pick. Even though Rosen was kind of in the same situation where he dropped kind of not very far, but he dropped a little and went to a team that just kind of he just fell right in their hands, and they got to have what they thought was going to be a franchise quarterback, but it ended up not working out that way.
All right. So to close out our noon window, we are going to be talking about both of our favorite teams. The same team, but the Chiefs and the Panthers. So this game was a little bit closer than what I would have liked, but we still, a win is a win, and an interesting thing to watch this year, or to observe and kind of like notice, is that the Chiefs haven't given up more than 20 points, except our loss to the Raiders and this game. So, What are your thoughts? Do you think this is more on the defense? For how close this game was, or do you just think it's, the offense should have picked it up a little bit more and scored more points?
Well, okay. So first, I want to say this. I'm already gonna be eating some crow during the later part of this video. I'm not gonna be much eating crows. I want to say I was wrong about Matt Rule. I didn't think he was gonna work in the NFL. I thought it was a panicked hire from a guy who won at Baylor, and it was impressive what he did at Baylor, but I didn't think he was going to work out. He's done well in Carolina. I know their record may not fully reflect that. 3-6 isn't. They're basically near playoff elimination because you hit 7-8 losses, you're basically out. But he's done a good job, and his coaching was one of the big reasons why I think they were in this, because he understood that he couldn't settle in this game. He understood that he was going to need points. He needed to keep up with the Mahomes offense and Andy Reid. And, there was a lot of fourth down times he went for a fourth down and got it. He had the fake punt that was successful on us.
Yeah, and the onside kick, too.
And, there were times I was a little panicked because I really thought, I sat there and I'm like, Carolina are playing hard. They're playing hard, and they're getting the pressure on Mahomes. Their offense is keeping up with us. But I give my respect to Carolina. I don't think the defense was as much to blame. It's their first week back with Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey was playing hungry. It was a pretty good game. Carolina, it's a big blow to their season. But I wouldn't give up on them just yet because there's talent there.
Yeah, and also another thing, I guess to watch, if they get eliminated, they're still a really promising team because they still have the draft to look forward to, and there's a lot of talent in this year's draft. So they can be a team for the future. But right now they're still looking pretty good.
the thing is, last year they spent all their draft picks on defensive players. Yeah. And I think the big question will be, will they continue building their defense? Because their offense looked pretty good. Am I like, Curtis Samuel, man, I don't know what kind of weird experiments they've been doing on that guy, but he's a star. And I love me some Robbie Anderson. He's doing amazing there. DJ Moore, he's doing really good. Tough in Carolina. Obviously Christian McCaffrey, but you also have a good backup running back in
Mike Davis.
Davis. And I would not be surprised with Mike Davis. I've told you this. Mike Davis, I would not be surprised if he is on a starting running back on an NFL team next year after the performances he put up in Christian McCaffrey's absence.
Yeah. All right. So on to the next game. It's just it keeps getting worse for this team. It seems like every week. It's the Raiders and the Chargers. Chargers have just suffered a heartbreak after heartbreak.
Yeah.
So on this game, it was looking pretty promising for the Chargers at the end. They go in, they get the last-second touchdown. Chargers are running the field, they're all excited, and all sorts of stuff. The Raiders look defeated, and then you look at the replay of the catch from Parham, and it wasn't a catch at all. You actually bobbled it, and they reviewed it because all scoring plays are reviewed, and also what I honestly would think that they would look at it either way. Actually, I don't even know if they would have looked at it because the side judge completely, he didn't see any bobble and he called it.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't a scoring play, it might not have been reviewed. But nevertheless, the Chargers, the catch was incomplete and they lost the game to the Raiders.
Yeah.
So they fall to 2-6. Gabe, what is your evaluation right now on the Chargers?
Okay, I'm gonna start this by saying I hate the Chargers. I don't like their owner. But I also think some of the Los Angeles fans, I think these guys mostly are kind of, they kind of are still leeching off that 2018 season, the high-flying offense with Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon, and Melvin Gordon was a superstar. And, it was a good offense, and I think they're leeching off that. Since then, it's been really disappointing. And let me say this. I understand. This has been horrific for Chargers fans, and I feel bad for them because honestly, this is just terrible. But I can't say they're getting screwed.
Yeah.
It's tough because they're not being screwed. It's not like they're getting beaten by controversial calls or missed calls or just a bunch of nothing really controversial going on. It's just they're losing heartbreaking fashion. They can't stop losing in heartbreaking fashion.
Yeah, they're like the opposite sorry, frog in my throat.
Seahawks.
Yeah. Seahawks have gotten into really close games this year, and they've been on the good part of it. But the Chargers, on the other hand, are just.
And I think the toughest part is, whenever they got that last-second touchdown, it was almost like it was retribution for what happened last week to them in the
Broncos game.
Broncos game. They're at they're both at the 1 yard line. They just needed, with 1 second left, it was like, okay, this entire game comes down to this play. And nothing. You know, it wasn't a catch. I mean, it's quite obvious it wasn't a catch. It wasn't like there's any controversy, but it just must suck.
I will say, for Chargers fans and whatnot, the even though this year has not gone your way, and it seems like every year you always end up saying this, but I really do mean it this year. You always have the future to look forward to because you have a pretty good quarterback now. You're not just relying on Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, this is gonna be a different offseason where you're going in and you're like, wow, this kid is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
He's came in and he has. I mean, I can't even imagine what these type of performances, these type of games would do to a young quarterback's mentality. I think it does one of two things. It either one, it infuriates you and it hypes you up because you just want to end this and you want to just get back. You want to try to win these tight games, or B, it just deflates you because it feels like you're doing everything so well, it just can't finish right.
It's just Chargers. It seems like they have always lost in heartbreaking fashion, but here it's against another division rival. So on to the next one. A really interesting game that I thought was actually going to go the other way for the longest time, but a little comeback towards the end changed that. Steelers and the Cowboys was a
so
really...
you're saving the two games you got right for last.
No,
you're not even gonna put in the break. I thought you were gonna do Cardinals Dolphins, and then we'll finish with 3 o'clock settings with the Steelers and the Cowboys, and then we'll finish with your big finale. You're not even gonna let me pace myself.
Well, I will. I'll tell you how I'm going to, but I'm not gonna double whammy you back to back.
All right.
So Steelers Cowboys.
Incredible too.
So, Ben Roethlisberger, kind of got injured towards the end of the half. Messed up knee, but towards the second half, it didn't really even show, it didn't even look like he was injured or anything. It looked pretty good. But Dallas, the whole way, kind of seemed like the game was going their way until the fourth quarter. And then Pittsburgh put up 15 points unanswered, ultimately to win the game. But the big thing I want to touch on here, which, even though he's not Dak Prescott, he still played pretty well. Garrett Gilbert, as the announcers, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz kept alluding to, former AAF quarterback for the Orlando Apollos, actually had a pretty good day. 21 for 38, 243 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. And that interception did end up being really costly, but it was more on he was trying to get the ball out. He was getting hit. They were on the 5-yard line or somewhere around there. And he just wanted to put his team in a good situation, get ahead a little bit further, and ended up costing. But he played pretty well for his first actual NFL start.
Yeah, he, I think most Cowboys fans went into this game thinking, we're going to get freaking destroyed. This game's not even going to be close. And it was the opposite. For most of the game, Dallas were in the lead. And, I don't think, obviously, Garrett Gilbert, I don't know how good he's going to be as a quarterback, but he showed that when he had the lead, he could manage it, and he was managing it pretty well. Just tried to do a little bit too much, I think, and I think that's something they can work on. Obviously, season gets pretty rough from here. You know, that win maybe could have stayed the tides of the season. Maybe tried.
Yeah, but even though it might even end up mattering because they are in the NFC least, as what most people have alluded to. The NFC East is not very good. The Eagles, I'm pretty sure, are leading it at 3-4-1, and the Cowboys are only 2-7. So the Cowboys still have a pretty good chance of winning the division, still getting to the playoffs.
I think the biggest problem that'll lay for them is that they have to play the Eagles and the football team again, and both those teams, I think, could beat them.
Yeah.
And I think if the Giants played them again, I wouldn't put past the Giants beating them, to be honest.
So,
all right, let's get
into the next one.
Let's get this over with.
So, Gabe and I had different opinions on this one. I said, he said, you know, Kyler Murray was going to win this one. The Cardinals were going to go out. I don't even think you said it wasn't even going to be close. I think.
I said that I didn't have any worries about the prediction. I didn't say it wouldn't be close, but I said I wasn't too nervous about the prediction itself.
So Tua made you eat your words a little bit, Gabe. It was Tua time in Miami, and I don't know. You talk to me about hate sometimes, but I don't know why you wanted to bet against Tua, you know, these past couple weeks. Tua Tagovailoa had a pretty good second game starting. He went 20 for 28 with 248 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 7 rushing attempts for 35 yards. He averaged 5 yards a carry. And then on to Kyler Murray. He was 21 for 26 for 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And he rushed...
Yep, but he also had a costly fumble that became a scoop and score.
Yeah. He rushed 11 times for 106 yards and 1 touchdown. So, as you might know, or you might not know, I don't know, Zane Gonzalez missed the field goal to be able to tie this game. And I've seen a couple times Cardinals fans call for his head, especially during the Seahawks game where he missed, and Cliff Kingsbury basically iced his own kicker, but it ended up not mattering because the Cardinals got away with the win. But
yeah,
how do you think Zane Gonzalez's future is going to look like as a Cardinal right now?
You know, kickers are just so expendable in this league that you really need to be like a solid kicker to be able to keep your job. And I think Zane Gonzalez, I mean, as a Cardinal, I don't think it'll affect them that much, but I don't know how long he'll stay as a Cardinal, to be honest. He misses big kicks. Hasn't been ideal. But as I said, kickers have been such an expendable position that I don't know how much that would affect everything. But, you know, I still have my doubts on Tua, but for now, I can't really talk bad about him. He beat what I thought was a pretty talented Cardinals team. They got away. You know, I think they invested smart, like, for this game in general. The investments they made in players like, you know, like Byron Jones and, you know, what was it, Kendall Fuller? Or was it Kyle Fuller?
I don't think they got any of the
Kendall Fuller went to the Red. The
football team.
The football team got to him, but they invested in cornerbacks and safeties, and what they did was they took DeAndre Hopkins out of the game, and they did a really good job of doing that. And Kyler didn't play particularly well as far as dealing with that. I think made mistakes. It confused him a little bit, like not having his number one receiver. And credit to Tua, credit to the Dolphins. I'm not sure, as a playoff team, yeah, they can make the playoffs. They obviously are far off from being, in my opinion, a Super Bowl team because of how this team is the overwhelming talent on other teams, but the win streak they're on is impressive. And I think Brian Flores, even though I've got a record saying that Bill O'Brien is a little bit over-criticized, even though I know he's not been a great coach, he gets over-criticized a little bit. But Brian Flores might become the Belichick guy that worked.
Yeah. So now we're going to switch it over, just to give you a little break so you can collect your thoughts for this next game. To some news. I'm just going to go through some things, and then I'll leave some things up to discussion. But Giants apparently told Golden Tate to stay home for Wednesday's practice after an on-field outburst, and Tate liking a tweet saying the Giants should cut him, which is very interesting since one of the big names that was being thrown around before the trade deadline was him, even though he had a pretty good game against the Buccaneers. So another big thing, a lot of people have kind of talked about it. Some people have kind of just swept it under the rug because of some of the recent firing of a GM and head coach, and Billy O'Stooge, is J.J. Watt on if he'll finish his career in Houston, and he said that he's not looking to rebuild. So, could we see J.J. Watt possibly being out of Houston? Kind of a toss-up, but yeah, you want to talk about that?
Sure. With the Golden Tate stuff, I mean, Tate was playing today, wasn't he?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure I saw his name up at least once. I think he was playing. As far as it goes, I mean, Golden Tate isn't what I'd consider a game-changing player. I wouldn't really put him in that conversation. He's a good, solid wide receiver. As far as him liking tweets saying to trade him, I mean, I guess you can do that. I would say more just grow up, dude, because that's just a little childish in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of that, but I mean, you do you, I guess.
So, in other news, I don't know if you knew this, the Raiders got fined and also a draft pick taken away from them due to them not going by the COVID-19 guidelines. And this is what John Gruden had to say about all of the stuff going on.
I'm just going to say very proud of our organization, how we have handled this entire protocol and this entire process. And I'm not going to comment any further than that. We, as I said last week, I believe we're on the cutting edge of being the best at servicing players. And I'll leave it at that.
All right, so what are your thoughts on that comment, Gabe?
I mean, I think it's kind of horse shit from a guy who got caught not following COVID protocol. We've seen him with his mask down. We've seen him not doing it, and obviously there's some complaints that Titans didn't get a similar penalty. Those arguments are valid. I understand. Same reason I think he may have gotten this, but Cliff Kingsbury was caught many times with his mask off against the Seahawks. If he got in trouble for that, I hope he did. But, you know, as far as that goes, yes, it kind of stinks. But say, oh, we're the best at this. I mean, I think you're full of horseshit, honestly. Because it's quite obvious, like, you know, you guys are dealing with COVID cases just as anyone else. There are certain teams right now that we're not hearing much COVID cases from. Like, the Chargers, they've held the situation very well. We haven't heard anything coming out of that Chargers camp. The Dolphins, they haven't been huge on it. Even though they suck on the field, the Jets have limited it, so they think that him saying is to me kind of egotistical and incorrect.
I mean, I would say, if I, you know, from the outside looking in, that John Gruden, you know, it's such like a dumb thing to say, you know, because we all know
just got fined for it.
We all know what your organization's like right now. You can't hide the fact that you guys just got fined for not following those protocols, and then you turn around saying, "Well, we think we're the best at following these protocols," and you're on the exact opposite side of the spectrum.
Yeah,
I think you and the Titans have been the worst on following these rules. The Titans were a little bit better because, you know, they actually like kind of helped the NFL, you know, and they were trying to fix the situation. But the Raiders have gotten multiple warnings, like John Gruden every game, you know, and you see Cliff Kingsbury with his mask down, but when he approaches an official and all that stuff, he always is masked up and all sorts of stuff. John Gruden just walks out there all willy-nilly, spraying his spit everywhere, all over the official's face, and letting him have it, and, you know, and they don't really say anything about it during the game. It's more after, and then, you know, the news comes out that the whole offensive line, you know, has COVID or is close contact. You know, they're put on the list, and then Jonathan Abram, and that really kind of sparked everyone's like interest to see, whoa, what's going on in there. So
yeah, and I mean, yeah, for me, it's obvious that you aren't the best at it.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, just stupid.
So on to like some in-game news stuff that happened during games and stuff like that. The Texans running back David Johnson was ruled out for the rest of the game today with a concussion. Des Bryant was on the field a little bit during the game, made his return after I think it was 2 or 3 years out of the NFL.
Yeah, about that.
So that, I mean, that's pretty nice, but you know,
good for him.
Yeah, it's not like, you know, he's gonna be prime Des, but
he did not catch the ball. He did not get a single catch today.
Yeah. Unlike Antonio Brown, but we'll cover that later. Preston Williams on the Dolphins was carted to the locker room. Ben Roethlisberger obviously had the knee injury. Also, one thing I did want to cover that's sort of like, I don't know what you'd classify. I guess it's more of a stat. But I find this kind of funny that Nelson Aguilar has a touchdown reception in 3 of his last 4 games. And this was a guy that was like one of the biggest memes the past couple years in Philadelphia. He was a big meme for, you know, not being able to catch the ball, and he was just terrible at it. Now he goes to Las Vegas, he goes out to the West, and all of a sudden, you know, he's like Odell frickin' Beckham Jr. out here, catching all these balls, catching all these deep balls from Derek Carr. It's just like, I think he's the Raiders' #1 receiver, because I think he has more yards than Ruggs.
Yeah, and you know, I think it's an indictment somewhat on, you know, everyone always said that, it's Carson Wentz is dealing with all these trash receivers, and, you know, they can't catch the ball. It's just like, well, when Nelson Aguilar has left, he seems to be able to catch the ball. When Nick Foles comes into the fray, everyone seems to be able to catch the ball. But now Carson Wentz somehow, conveniently dodges blame. Something to think about. Just, putting it out there that, people do seem to have problems catching the ball when Carson Wentz is their quarterback.
Yeah,
but no,
I wasn't expecting that reaction out of you. I was expecting more like wow, Nelson Aguilar. I wasn't expecting the turn on Carson Wentz wagon. It's kind of interesting.
I think Carson Wentz gets to get bailed out of a lot of situations. I think sometimes he gets a little bit, I don't know. Maybe I'm going a little too hard, but he.
No, I think
gets a little bit bailed.
I think you're kind of
I understand
right.
his situation. His situation isn't ideal.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's behind a coach who I know we make fun of his play calling sometimes, but he's still a really good coach, and he has a owner who has put his neck out on the line for Carson Wentz multiple times. He has a team that used a first round pick on a wide receiver for him. And yes, he's been injured, but he's back now. And he's been gifted the worst division in probably NFL history. And yet he's 3-4-1.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know this is off topic, but I don't know. I think Carson Wentz gets an excuse for everything. And I think it's time people need to start holding him accountable.
All right, so the reverse Dan Orlovsky treatment here from Gabe. I find that kind of interesting, but also a little funny. Because, yeah, Carson Wentz does deserve a little bit of the blame. But we'll be moving on to the next subject and the last thing to talk about tonight, which was Sunday Night Football.
Here we go.
Even though being a Chiefs fan, I think this was the most entertaining game for me to watch. Because actually, Gabe, do you know why this might be a little bit more interesting to me than the Chiefs game?
Because you predicted the Saints to win the game.
I did, and who won the game, Gabe?
The Saints won the game 38-3.
It's like you read my mind. Alright, and who do you think had the better game out of these quarterbacks?
I think Drew Brees had the better game.
Now, do you want to? I'll let you explain yourself first before we get into the stats of this game.
Okay, I won't go over the stats. I'll just Okay, first of all, this is not an excuse for the utter trash we just witnessed tonight on Sunday Night Football. That the Buccaneers try to pass off as football. But I will say, no one thought that was going to happen. There may be some people who thought the Saints were going to win this game. No one thought the Saints were going to absolutely demolish the Buccaneers. No one thought that Tom Brady would be held scoreless through 3.5 quarters. No one thought Tom Brady would have a hat trick of interceptions. No one thought that they would only run the ball 5 times, an NFL hit record. But after all those, I won't call those excuses, but I will say Tom Brady looked like trash tonight. I mean, it was weather that he's, Drew Brees is a dome quarterback. Tom Brady played in cold, wet weather in Gillette Stadium in New England for most of his career. It's the only year he hasn't done something like that on a regular basis. And, he got exposed. It looked like it was Breeze who was the outside quarterback and Brady was a dome quarterback because it felt like he couldn't get the ball thrown in the wind. Felt like Brady was couldn't get the ball right. There were some drop passes, but there were also a lot of overthrows. There was a lot of bad wobblers that are hard for the receivers to bring in. It was embarrassing. I was wrong. You were right. I don't think this is like, oh, the Buccaneers can't get back to what they were a couple of weeks ago. But that wasn't just a step in the opposite direction. That was a monster leap in the incorrect direction. They got nailed by a car and got flown backwards. And that car was the New Orleans Saints, who, for the first time in Tom Brady's career, have swept him in a divisional rivalry. It's first season in the NFC South, and swept by the Saints. And that was one of the things people were wondering is, like, he's joining a conference that has the New Orleans Saints in it. How will he handle that? And he hasn't handled it well. He's undefeated against his other NFC South rivals, but sure as hell isn't undefeated against the New Orleans Saints. Had his I think you could make an argument, probably the two worst games, one of the worst games in his career, both against the New Orleans Saints. And I don't think Drew Brees went out and lit the house on fire, but he did what he needed to do. He didn't make any mistake. Didn't make any big mistakes. Brady made tons of mistakes. I'll give the floor back to you just a second. I have nothing. I can't defend myself. I really believe that the Buccaneers would get their revenge game back. I thought they had spent so long focusing on this game, I thought that was why they didn't do so well against New York. And maybe it was the case that they were looking past New York to New Orleans, but they sure as hell weren't ready for this game. Yeah.
All right, so Tom Brady was 22 for 38 tonight with 209 yards and no touchdowns. But boy, did he make up for it. Even though it's not Christmas yet, Tom Brady was in the giving spirit with 3 interceptions. The Buccaneers didn't score a touchdown tonight, and the sad part was that at one point it looked like Jameis Winston was going to score more touchdowns than what Tom Brady did tonight, which I was kind of hoping would happen so I could use that, but he went out, he threw only one pass for 12 yards, and they went and kneeled it to be conservative and I guess be nice and sportsmanship or whatever. But respect to the best rusher in this game. Some people might know who I'm talking about, but I doubt you would guess. Taysom Hill, who off of 7 attempts rushed for 54 yards, and one run was absolutely amazing. He hurdled over a guy. But it's kind of interesting when your leading rusher's backup quarterback,
third string,
backing up to Drew Brees at some extent. Michael Thomas came back for this game and was the leading receiver. And one of the big things that was touched upon was everyone on the Saints offense basically got to touch the ball at some point. Unless if you're an offensive lineman. But other than that, they all played pretty well. And if you're on the defense, basically just be ready for a punt return, because that's all Tom Brady's throws were tonight. A lot of ducks and potatoes. So Sorry, is there something you want to say, Gabe?
No, I don't want to say it.
So, you know, looked pretty good for the Saints night. Are you sure there's nothing that you want to talk about? No Taysom Hill?
I'll say this. Tonight, there's no defending what Tom Brady did tonight. But, I'll say this. People who say that this hurts his legacy as the greatest quarterback of all time, you're arrogant. And to those of you who say that now he's washed and that he can't play in the NFL anymore, yes, you will point at this game and you will point out the flaws. And you may have some points. But I'm just going to take you back to a Monday Night Football game a couple years ago. Tom Brady and the New England Patriots went up against Alex Smith's Kansas City Chiefs. In this game, Alex Smith dominated Tom Brady. Tom Brady threw interceptions. He had a fumble. He didn't look good. And people would have been in their right to criticize him like they are tonight. But Tom Brady did go on to win a Super Bowl that year.
Yeah. I'll be here for the night, don't have to think twice. I'll be oh so nice, I have to think twice. I'll be here for the night, don't have to think twice. I'll be oh so nice, I have to think twice. Yeah. I'll be here for the night. Travel far, moving with the seasons, go to Panama, then on to Ibiza. Didn't take that long, had no time for weeping. Fingernails like claws on my clothes you keep. And you'll store your bag, think it had a reason. Can't remember shit, but I got a feeling. Play you all my songs, gonna blow out speaker, did we work it up? Can't remember either. Running in circles, not feeling okay. Act like imposters, we playing all day. Last night we talked all about holidays. One day we'll get all this thing, get away. Tonight, don't have to think twice. I'll be oh so nice, I have to think twice. I'll be here for the night, don't have to think twice. I'll be oh so nice, I have to think twice. I'll be here.